Hey, everybody. Welcome to Gross Anatomy, where we explore the sights, smells, and sounds of medicine, how it relates to movies, TV, books, pop culture, podcasts, and the world around us. And I am Dr. Jason Cohen.
And I am Lauren Taylor.
I was feeling a little yucky because I've been traveling. Even though I am feeling a little bit under the weather, I also just spent the last 2 hours talking nonstop continuously. I created and run this program. And usually we have a guest healthcare person talk about their journey into healthcare. And we interview them, we get them to tell us about their journey. But I found out at the last minute that this person had canceled and I didn't have enough time to get anybody. So I was the journey sharer. And I just spent the last 2 hours speaking nonstop about my journey into healthcare. Pearls and wisdom and crazy, wacky stories and you know, how I wound up as a pre-med and art major, and yet still here I am today.
You didn't get your MFA at Yale. You weren't a starving artist, but you became a doctor.
There you go.
I think you made the right decision.
Thank you, Lauren Taylor. I appreciate that.
I have a question. When I used to work in your office, there were like interns or people that were trying to go to medical school, like trying to get in.
Yeah, those are our pre-meds, yeah.
Pre-meds, and they always said how hard it was. I feel like they would have never taken a gap year. Does that affect you in any way?
Well, these days, what I tell students who are interested in healthcare, it's totally fine to take a circuitous route. As long as you could tie it into the story, like you could tell that story a whole million different ways. One of our students today, while I was telling about my journey, said one surgeon told her that she should go take an art history class. Should I take an art history class? She said. And I said, no, you don't have to take an art history class. But I said, taking art, taking theater, taking economics, taking whatever, just makes you more well-rounded and gives you a better understanding of the world and just makes you a better conversationalist, gives you more empathy, lets you connect to people. So by all means, do those kinds of things, but don't necessarily just take an art history class because someone tells you to. But if it's something you're interested in, by all means.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we can segue into a theater guy who became a big movie star, Val Kilmer. I feel like we were both sad to learn that he died.
Yeah, but we kind of knew it was coming. You know, he had throat cancer, head and neck cancer, I believe, right?
He did, yes. And we both watched that documentary, Val, where it just went into his life. And then it was his son narrating because he could not speak then. And that was like in 2022.
Yeah, he had to use like some special device to speak. And he was even in Top Gun like that. And it was Top Gun 2, Maverick. And it was kind of sad and sweet. Top Gun 1, you know, the original Top Gun came out when I was in high school. You know, there's the big volleyball scene when they're playing volleyball all shirtless on the beach. And it's 2-on-2 volleyball. But after that, volleyball was huge for a while around the world. And my friends and I got very into, we went to summer camp like right after Top Gun came out. And I still remember we'd have these, you know, very athletic beach volleyball. It was like 12-on-12 fat Jewish guys and like all of us, you know, and kids, you know, thinking we were Top Gun, but realizing we were just goofy idiots trying to be Top Gun. But it was huge.
But you felt good about yourself. So that's all that matters. I feel like you had fun. Well, so you know, he was diagnosed with throat cancer. So you kind of expect someone to only live so long. Like he died of pneumonia.
Well, it's one of those tougher cancers, you know, because of the area that it's at. The treatment often is pretty harsh, you know, and you saw that with Val Kilmer. You know, the treatment kind of could affect your voice and could affect your breathing. And sometimes you have to get radiation and surgery. Sometimes you can't even eat and you need a feeding tube. I don't know the extent of what his treatment was like. The treatment sometimes is really debilitating and really hard for head and neck cancer. When it's early, it's great. But if not caught early, sometimes the treatment is disfiguring surgery, disfiguring radiation. You have to remove the ability to speak. It could be pretty debilitating.
I hate that those were his final years, but in the documentary, he somehow seemed happy. He seemed okay.
It was definitely a little bit of a hard to watch documentary. What are some of your favorite Val Kilmer roles?
I'm a big fan of The Saint. I also love Heat.
Oh, The Saint with Elizabeth Shue. I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
that was a fun one. Did you ever see Real Genius? Do you remember that one?
Yes. Actually, when I first started dating my husband, he was like, you have to watch this movie because he loves Val Kilmer too.
He was also fabulous in The Doors. I mean, that was insane. I'm not that huge of a Doors fan, but because of him in that movie, wow. And I think I showed that movie to two of my kids, my younger two kids, And they really got into the doors a little bit, I think, because of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, he was a fantastic actor. That was sad news. Another thing I just wanted to quickly talk to you about, because we had an episode right after Gene Hackman died. We talked about it and thinking that, we wouldn't know for like a month what happened to them. But then they came out like a few days later and said that Gene Hackman's wife died of hantavirus.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever encountered that in a patient?
I have not personally. I definitely learned about it in, infectious disease microbiology, but I never treated anybody or came across anybody with hantavirus.
Yeah, they say it's kind of rare. And then it also seems like there might not be a cure.
I don't know. And it comes from, infected, rodent poop, right? Isn't
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
So it's definitely not common whatsoever.
Well, it seemed very gross anatomy. And apparently, Gene Hackman died a week later of heart disease and Alzheimer's, like complication. I don't think he even knew his wife was dead, which is just a crazy story.
That's crazy. But wasn't the dog dead too or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know how long the dog was dead.
From starvation or something crazy like that.
Yeah, and then that gets into the whole of like having alternative care. If you just have one person taking care of someone.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we'll ever know the full story.
Okay.
But I did have to learn about every virus at one point in med school. And actually, that was one of my favorite subjects, was microbiology. I really enjoyed learning about infectious diseases. I even entertained briefly going into infectious disease because it was so cool. Not the common ones, but like the parasitic diseases were really exciting to me. But in reality, when someone goes into infectious disease these days, for a while it was treating HIV. It could be like treating HIV patients, but it also could just be treating basic, infections, COVID, all of that. But for me, what was exciting was all the wacky parasitic and strange, CDC type of diseases. That was exciting to me. And it prompted me as a fourth-year medical student to go to Africa, where I worked in a mission hospital for 2 months. I saw a lot of malaria. I saw a lot of typhoid. But I didn't see any real parasitic worm diseases. Really, it was malaria and typhoid and HIV were really the main infectious diseases that I encountered.
I could definitely see you as like a CDC director type role. So I guess kind of speaking of Alzheimer's, you got the test to see if you were had a precursor to it. What is it? How do you explain it?
Yeah, there's a gene called the ApoE gene, which is linked to Alzheimer's, that if you have that gene, you're at an increased risk of developing Alzheimer's. So we did 23andMe.
So that's how you did it. You did do it that way?
Okay. 23andMe, yeah, and I tested negative for the ApoE gene, but I was concerned because my mom's mom, my grandmother, had pretty significant Alzheimer's at a fairly young age. That all of a sudden, I remember one of the first times noticing she was a great cook, and she made soup one time, and like a noodle soup or a matzo ball soup, and it had zero flavor, zero. And she forgot to put salt and spices in, and that was kind of, for me, I remember the first time I noticed that something was wrong with her. And she was really sharp and smart, and it was interesting and hard to watch that progression. So I was very worried, knowing my grandmother, that I might have that gene, but it was a big relief that I tested negative.
So 23andMe filed for bankruptcy. They're looking for a buyer. And so apparently like millions of people went on there trying to like delete their information. Everyone's worried about them selling all their information. Does that concern you in the slightest?
I don't know why everybody's freaking out. It's out there on 23andMe. Why weren't they freaking out when it was out there on 20?
That's the thing. Like it seemed like everyone was clicking that it said like 80% of people like originally clicked that they could share their information for medical purposes, to be like
right.
part of the data.
Right. And I even know, like on the news, they were saying, 23andMe is going out of business. I don't know we have so much stuff out there already. It's so easy to get hacked in general, but I really don't totally get it. Do you? Do you have a sense of?
I mean, I never went on there because I don't like people knowing a lot about me anyways, but that's just my personality. But I think if I were on there, I'd be like, what could they do? Because everyone has all your information all the time anyways. Like, I mean, you're being tracked by so many different things. Just like you said, I'm like, what's the difference at this point?
And the fact that I'm on social media, I mean, people know so much about me. I don't totally get it. So you never did any of that genetic testing?
No, but like my aunt did it. So I think, you could easily, whatever. But
yeah, I was, when I did it, two of the reasons I did it was I wanted to know if I had any cool origin, any kind of cool genetics, any interesting. And the funny thing is I did it and I got the most boring result. Initially, I got 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. And I'm like, wow, I am the most boring thing in the world. Interestingly, with a lot of people's over time, we got these updates. And now I'm like 0.2% Native American.
How accurate is some of it? I guess that's my question too. And another reason I didn't really do it, but yeah, I guess the more people that do it, the more accurate it is.
It really blows my mind. Like, how am I a little bit Native American? And can I maybe apply to like, Stanford now or something like that? Or can my kids?
Yeah. And I know in Oklahoma there are benefits, but I think you might have to be a little bit more than 2%.
I'm not even 2%. I'm like 0.2%. But I'm not 100% Ashkenazi Jewish anymore. I have like a drop of something else. So I'm like, was the mailman? Like, I really don't get how that got in there. It's a little bizarre.
Yeah, it is. Well, so you were saying you wanted to be something different. You know the actress Tiffany Haddish?
Yeah.
I guess her dad left when she was like 3, but she found out through one of those that she was Jewish. And she got really into the Jewish faith, which I thought you would like. And she had her bat mitzvah at like age 40, which I thought
that's awesome. I love that. I didn't know that part of the story. That's great. That was the other thing I was hoping to do, because my dad's dad, who died when I was fairly young, supposedly had like 9 or 10 siblings who he did not keep in touch with a single one of them. So I was hoping to maybe find some cool relatives, but nothing's really shown up. And the few people that I've, that like nothing. So I'm waiting to find out that, George Clooney's my brother or something like that. But we haven't gotten that, or Paul Rudd or something like that. That I haven't found out yet.
Well, so that's funny that you say that too, because Gwyneth Paltrow went on Find Your Roots show and she found out that she was related to Edward Norton. And then Larry David found out that he was like a third cousin or somehow related to Bernie Sanders. Like
they kind of look alike. Don't they kind of look alike?
Yes, and Larry David played him on like SNL, I think whenever he was like running for president. So it's just a crazy coincidence. But I'm surprised you never found any of those siblings.
No, any of my grandfather's siblings, no. But an interesting thing is that one of my wife's best friends found out she never knew who her father was.
Mm-hmm.
And she did either 23andMe or the other one. What was the Ancestry? I don't remember which one she did.
Yeah.
And she did it. And supposedly she got back saying, this is your father. And she met her father and now has a relationship with this man. And she's, in her 50s. And now she has a dad. And that's kind of, and he never knew he had her.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposedly like a one night stand kind of thing. And it's pretty interesting what you hear, some stories of some interesting stuff.
Some positive things. If she didn't share her data, like she wouldn't have found that.
Exactly. And they have a nice relationship now, which is really cool.
Well, that is cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you're not worried about them selling 23andMe. Do you think, but how in general, like for medical research, do you think it can be used as like a positive?
Yeah, well, the more genetic data we have about people, the more we'll understand what these genes potentially are linked to. But when we do genetic testing in our cancer patients or patients with family histories of cancer, we get a lot of these genes that we don't know what their significance is. We call it a variant of undetermined significance. And we don't even know what to do with that because we don't have enough data and enough people with that. And it's not until you get all that data and say, oh, these people develop a third eyebrow or whatever it is, or a sixth toe, then you could say that's what that might lead to. So the more information we get, the more people who do it, the more we'll be able to learn and figure stuff out. So,
well, I think that's why people were originally might have been opting in, to share. But then, me needed more money. So they're selling your information to like drug companies and different stuff to market to you. Again, people market to you all the time. So really,
you search for, a flight and on your phone and you're going to get an ad about an airline or something like that.
Well, I don't even search for things, and I'm sure my phone is listening to me because it comes up in my feed, and I'm like,
right.
A show that you're watching, what is it, 1923? Is that what it's called?
Yes, 1923.
So Helen Mirren wants a DNA test because she's sure she's related to Harrison Ford. She thinks they're that connected.
Yeah, maybe she just has a major crush on him or something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
She said, I guess they haven't worked together since they did the Mosquito Coast, I think in like 1986.
Did you see that movie?
I did. That movie is dark.
I like that movie. I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters, but I really, with River Phoenix.
Is
remember?
he one of the kids? I forgot.
Yeah, he's one of the kids. He's like narrating, I think, part of it. And that was a really interesting movie. I think they did a remake of it too.
They did an Apple TV show.
Right.
It was like 2 seasons and then it got canceled. I was just hoping it was just like, a one and done. I couldn't get through the first season. I just found it.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah. It wasn't like, it didn't hold my interest in the same way the movie did.
Yeah. Well, the premise of it is a cool premise, and it's very pertinent now, is trying to be off grid, live off grid is kind of the innocent premise of that movie, which is what there's a huge trend today. And even I would love to be able to have a place in the middle of nowhere and be off grid. That's one of my goals.
You think you could do it?
Yes, but I'll make it a luxurious off grid. I'm a glamper. I'm not a camper.
You're not going to be trying to make your own ice.
No, but right, exactly. That was a great thing. But you could definitely glamp off grid these days. So that's the goal.
Okay, I could see you and your wife doing that. I think.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we'll invite you.
10 years?
No. 2 to 3.
Coming up.
All
right. So that's what was going on in the news, the DNA testing.
I was kind of shocked, though, that 23andMe is out of business. That's what's even more, to me, worrisome and concerning, that they weren't able to figure out how to, because everybody was doing 23andMe.
Yeah.
So what really is bizarre for me was the fact that they couldn't figure out a sustainable business model. That's the thing that really, more than anything, is more disturbing than the whole data selling thing. It's like, what? 23andMe is going out of that. That's really what's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I guess people got really into it. And then, so many people wanted to do it. And then like, what do? I don't know. You don't have to keep paying for it. I'm not sure how it works. But I read that some other drug company like invested $33 million into them, but then they still went bankrupt. So I don't understand their business model either.
It'll be interesting to see what happens to Ancestry.com.
Is that's still kicking, I guess?
It's still kicking, and it's the same thing is DNA testing. So maybe, hopefully they'll pivot and figure something else out, or maybe some other company is going to do it now. But then we have, these other genetic testing companies that are more just for the healthcare side of things. And so that we'll send our patients genetic results out for.
Do you like one in particular? Like, do you tell your patients to use them, or you just? No,
we've actually had one of the companies, I'm blanking which one. We had them as a guest, remember, a while back?
I do, yes. And I was thinking of that too. I can't remember the name now either.
I can't, but everybody go back, watch every one of and listen to every single one of our episodes, and then tell us which one it was.
Yeah, because on that one we talked about the BRCA gene. Exactly. I can't remember the company name, but it was a bigger one.
I'm blanking on it too right now. I apologize.
Me too. I don't want to ruin our live feed, or I'd look it up for it.
Me too. Plus, I'm under the weather. So give me, give me a gimme.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go into something else that we're watching. We're both watching White Lotus.
But don't give me any spoilers. I think I'm maybe a little behind.
Okay. So it's not a spoiler. But it's been in the news a lot because one of the main characters played by Parker Posey, what's her name on the show? Oh, Victoria Radcliffe.
Yes.
Is the mom that's always popping benzos, talking about lorazepam.
Yeah.
In her accent. So people are like making fun of that or like doing imitations of that, whatever, posting stuff about that. But news is coming out about that. It's like, don't really joke around about that. Like, you pop benzos and like drink alcohol, like it's possible you like don't wake up.
Yeah, so. That's serious. That's serious stuff. Taking benzodiazepines. A lot of people use them for sleeping as sleeping pills. And then Jason Isaacs is popping them too. His character.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give anything away, but he's popping so many. I honestly don't know how he's standing up. I guess it's people differently, but.
Yeah, I think if I took more than one, I'd probably be dead.
Yeah, I would just faceplant. But I guess. And her tolerance in the show, the way she takes them, I guess I don't know if your body can get used to taking.
No, definitely. Your body definitely gets used to those. And that's how you hear about addiction and then those crazy stories, like what happened with Matthew Perry and whatever. It starts with something like benzos and then it's a lot of benzos and you build up a tolerance. And I do know a lot of people take something like that to travel, to sleep on a plane. It's not uncommon amongst even people I know. I've been lucky, I could sleep. Never even considered taking them. But I got to tell you, I've had anesthesia, like I've had a colonoscopy and things like that, and you wake up from that feeling amazing. So I totally get it. And because I felt so amazing after my colonoscopy, I'm like, I'm not going to take a bit. I'm not trying this kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't know that because I only took it how I thought you were supposed to take it, like Xanax. I've had a prescription for because I was like terrified of flying. So it would just like, get me calm enough to be on the plane and like maybe put me to sleep for just like those few hours. But I never liked taking it. So it wasn't like a thing. And eventually I was able to get off of it. But that's another thing these articles were saying about lorazepam. Now it's in the media or it's on the show, and it's the way she says it is so popular. But they're just like saying originally it wasn't supposed to be like something you were on all the time.
Right. But they're addicting. Benzodiazepines are definitely an addicting drug.
Yeah.
Just like alcohol.
Yeah. And then people are mixing them, which is, crazy.
Yeah.
So are you liking White Lotus?
Yeah. It kind of was very slow to begin with, I think. I didn't love all the characters. I do like Walter Goggins. And then I liked, did you see the episode where he arrives in Bangkok? Did you see that one? With who's the guy? He's one of my favorite actors.
That was my favorite part is Sam Rockwell's monologue. I was like, how did he do that? That was amazing.
That was an insane monologue. And Sam Rockwell, I discovered, the first time I discovered Sam Rockwell and said, holy cow, I love this guy, is from the way back.
Yes, he's great in that. And he's always going on shows dancing. Like he's a great dancer.
And the interesting thing is I didn't realize he's married to one of the women in real life in the show. I'm blanking on what her name is.
Her name's Leslie Bibb, and she's got like the short blonde hair.
Yeah. And they seem like this great couple. They since seen like clips of them together. And that was really interesting to realize, is that he's married to Leslie Bibb. That's great.
Yeah, they're cute, but like the girl storyline is hard to watch and kind of like, I know your daughter doesn't have this experience, but like, that's why I don't go on girls trips. It's always like that writing is very real.
Yeah. Girls are, I have 3 daughters. And my wife and I say girls have it tough. Girl world is a tough world. It's a much different world than boy world.
It's so different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough world, girl world.
Yeah. So the show's a little bit of a tougher watch than usual. I feel like it's missing like that comedic character, but it's good.
But I did like the snake release stuff too. I kind of like that.
I wanted those snakes to be free. I'm like, whoa, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that part was good. All right. Well, I know you watched a lot of other stuff. You finally watched Conclave.
I did.
Wait, where did you go? Is it a secret where you went?
It's not a secret. So, I had the epiphany and realized that one of the only good things, I hate flying. I hate traveling. And really the only good thing about traveling these days, or any time, and the thing I loved about it was being able to watch movies. Mm-hmm. And it's so upsetting when you're on a plane and there's no movie screen. Like in the olden days, you probably remember it, or maybe you don't. When you'd fly in any class, there'd be a movie screen come down in the middle of the planes and everybody would watch the same movie. Did you ever have that?
Yes. And one time, I forget, I feel like I was flying a lot that year and it was always, he's just not that into you. And I was like, I never want to watch this movie. And it's like funny. The only thing, it was so annoying. But yes, I remember that.
But those were great. And then it got to everybody had one in the back of their seat back. But now it's not a thing. Like maybe there's Wi-Fi and you can watch on your phone, but that's just not as like, I'm not watching a movie unless it's in my seat back. And so luckily I was on a lot of flights this past week. Luckily on 2 of them or 3 of them, no, I think only 2 of the flights, I had seat backs and got to watch movies. So I flew to Tampa to the Surgical Society of Oncology meeting, the cancer surgery meeting. So I flew there and I watched Conclave. Right. And then flying home, I watched 2 movies. I watched Wicked and I watched Amelia Perez. So I watched 3 of the Oscar noms.
Wow, that was a long flight. Nice.
Yeah. Tampa back to LA.
Yeah, that is a long flight. All right. So out of the 3, if it was just the 3 in a race for Best Picture, which would you give it to?
Ooh, wow. That's a great question. I think they all had...
2 were musical, right?
Yeah, 2 were musical. I think Amelia Perez was the most novel, kind of like it was a little... Did you see any of those 3?
Just Conclave. I know. I'm behind.
Amelia Perez, I thought the first third was really fun and entertaining and interesting. And then I kind of, the last half or whatever, didn't love. But I thought Zoe Saldana, fantastic. She was amazing. And I thought a lot of the dance singing numbers, a couple of them were just so great. Some of the medical ones, because there's not to spoil, I think everybody knows, it's about a drug lord who wants to be a woman, and it's about him becoming a woman, and then the whole second half is about her life as a woman, which I thought wasn't as entertaining. It was interesting, but I thought the whole beginning, Zoe Saldana is the lawyer interviewing surgeons, and that who will do the transformation surgery, and those scenes were great. And it was like man to woman, woman to man. That's the song. Then Zoe Saldana had a few fun numbers too. And then interestingly, the surgeon that they go with she flies to Israel, and that's the final surgeon is an Israeli surgeon who does the surgery. And there's a really sweet scene between Zoe Saldana and the Israeli surgeon when she's interviewing him. And he keeps going, like he's trying to find out why this person wants to have surgery. Is the person really a woman needing to do the surgery? Because you don't do that kind of thing lightly. Right. And she's trying to convince the surgeon, yes, this really has to be done. I really enjoyed that song, that moment. So
I wish I would have known that, because I didn't think about the medical aspect. We should have watched that.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it either. I didn't realize they were going to hone in so much on the medical, and I think you should watch it, and we should talk about it again, because even just those few set numbers, the whole first third of the movie was really interesting about the surgery and what you need to go through in order to do it. And they did it so interestingly and clever and fun. And so I really enjoyed that part of the movie, the medical musical part.
Well, I feel like a colleague or friend of yours, we only got him on the podcast for like 10 minutes. I feel like he's like the busiest person ever.
Dr. Maurice Garcia. Yeah. And he's an amazing guy, an amazing surgeon. And my partners and I help him often perform those surgeries. We do the helping to make the vagina, out of colon, which is pretty.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons we should have gone into this.
Yeah. But I didn't realize the movie was going to go into that. And that was really fun. So I like that. And then interestingly, Conclave deals with that also, which is kind of bizarre.
But the third act in Conclave, I didn't love either.
Yeah. But I thought the actors in that, holy cow, in Conclave, the talent in that movie.
I like the timing, the directing, the acting. I love Lithgow. I love Fiennes. It's Tucci.
Isabella Rossellini.
Yeah, that was great.
It was amazing. And Stanley Tucci.
But that apparently is based on a book. So I guess the screenwriter was, trapped in how he had to end it.
I wonder if it changed it or was true to it. Who knows?
I think it was true to it, but
yeah, that was an interesting twist. I thought that was also good. I almost, as crazy, getting back to your question, I almost wonder if I would have voted for Wicked.
I felt like you were going to go with Wicked.
Only because it like the whole thing kind of, the beginning, middle, and end, it held me the whole time. You know how it's going to end, but yet it was still entertaining. I got to tell you, I loved Elphaba.
Yeah, that girl has a voice. She has a beautiful voice.
I loved her.
I saw her. They performed in the Academy Awards, the opening. I know you didn't watch it, but they were very good.
No, it was fun. I liked her way better than Glinda.
Okay.
And I think you're supposed to.
I think so. I mean, I've seen the musical, but I
never did.
Okay.
I never did.
I think there's a lot of differences.
Yeah. The funny thing is they had the two original actresses.
Kristen Chenoweth, I love her.
Yeah, and Idina Menzel, whatever her name is. I apologize. John Travolta butchered her name also at the Oscars. Remember that year?
Yeah, that's why I let you take her name. I went with the one I knew right off the bat. I had one more question for you about movies. So you said Hannah, your middle daughter, you said she was going to watch The Substance, and I was wondering if she had a different opinion on it, because I know you hated it. I wonder if you talked to her about it.
She did watch it, and we briefly discussed it, and I forgot her final... I think she liked it more than I did, and I feel like I made her like it less because I told her how bad it was. I think she liked it more than I did. I think she also fast-forwarded a little bit, but it's interesting. I was talking to one of our pre-med students about it today who kind of had the same feeling I did. She said, yeah, I watched it and then got up and didn't watch the last 30 minutes or something like that. Did you see it?
No, because of your review. I feel like we like the same stuff a lot of times. So I was like, I don't know.
Did you watch the other movie that I told you to watch, Blink Twice?
No, because I'm a little bit scared to watch that one.
You need to be scared. You really don't need to be scared. But I do think it's worth seeing Emilia Perez, at least the first third.
Well, I feel like you gave, that's a good review. I feel like, I don't know, it was like people were hating on it. It was all over the place. I need to, just watch it.
Or just watch those scenes. I think there were kind of fun scenes. I'm sure you could easily find those scenes.
Okay. But I feel like we could have done a really cool podcast about that.
We still can.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. I guess you're not in New York, but Othello is on Broadway. Did you see that? With Denzel Washington and Jake Gyllenhaal?
I definitely did not go see it.
It runs for like 8 weeks, I think. I think it just started. It's already breaking records for like the most sales ever.
Well, what a cast. Jake Gyllenhaal and Denzel. Holy cow.
No.
I would love to see that. There was a thing called Shakespeare in the Park in New York City. There's this like old castle in Central Park where they put on Shakespeare plays, and often they have guest, celebrity actors and cool people in them. And there was this whole kind of New York ritual that supposedly you could get tickets in advance. For the most part, the way you would get tickets is you would camp out in Central Park on this huge meadow, like all day until the box office would open, and it would just be first come, first serve to get tickets. And that is kind of like the tradition of Shakespeare in the Park, how to get tickets to then see these performances. And it was like a whole experience. You go to Central Park, you bring your blanket, you have a picnic, you hang out, the line opens, and then you go see the show. As a New Yorker, I can't believe I never went to Shakespeare in the Park.
I still have it, right? I think they
still have it, and I found out from my sister you could actually get tickets in advance these days. Maybe they're like VIP ways, but I think people still do that thing. But
you could probably go see Othello if you were willing to pay a lot of money. I'm sure are sold.
One of the greatest things about living in New York when I lived in New York was being able to see, and I was very big into going to plays, getting to see celebs in theater. Like I saw Dustin Hoffman in Merchant of Venice. I saw Sting in Three Penny Opera. I saw John, who's the guy who's in a lot of tall guy. He's in
Goodman.
No, tall skinny guy with an afro head. What's his name?
John? Is first name's John?
Is it not John?
I don't know.
He was
a movie or anything.
Famous favorite actors of all time was Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's
yes, me too.
So I saw him and John C. Reilly.
Oh, yes.
And they were in True West in New York City. And I only saw one of the shows, but supposedly every night they alternated the lead role. And that would have been cool. But I got to see them. I think I saw Paul Rudd in some play in New York before he was famous.
Seeing Philip Seymour Hoffman and John C. Reilly, I feel like that's gold. Can't get better than that.
It was pretty great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the theater news I have. And then one more thing is that there's another medical show coming out. I don't know if you want to watch it and review it or how you're feeling. Did you watch the trailer it's called Pulse?
Yeah.
Not The Pulse, just Pulse. It reminds me a lot of The Pitt, which is just crazy. I don't know. I'm still watching The Pitt. It's like my husband's favorite show.
Oh, wow. I'm very behind on The Pitt because, we're still trying to do White Lotus and Severance and 1923.
Oh, yeah. I just started the second season of Severance.
Oh, nice.
If it's got any medical stuff, maybe we can talk.
Yeah, not yet. But we are liking The Pitt. It's just we're kind of doing it really slow. You know what's interesting about medical shows, and I don't know if you realize that, every time a big medical show comes out, it never comes out alone. There are always 2 or 3 shows at the same time. So like when ER came out, Chicago Hope came out, remember?
Yeah.
And they were battling for a while, neck and neck, and then Chicago Hope with Mandy Patinkin. Chicago Hope died, and obviously ER became ER. And I'm trying to think, when Grey's Anatomy came out, I think 3 Pounds, the show I met Mark, came out at the same time about a young neurosurgeon and a senior neurosurgeon.
They should just revamp that show. I feel like it's right, like it's ready now. People are tired of Grey's Anatomy. I feel like I wish they would redo it.
But interestingly, you're right. These 2 shows, I saw the trailer, Pulse and The Pit, look like the same show.
No.
Just one's a little more soap opera-y, and one's a little more like intense, right?
You
Like
keep
the Pit.
watching The Pit, and then you watch like the practically like 3-minute trailer on Netflix of Pulse. It's like they hit the same beats. It's
Yeah,
really weird.
yeah. And what's weird is they come out at pretty much at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, if you, I mean, really like medical shows, you'd watch them both. But I feel like I'll watch like the first episode if you want to review, if we want to review it or something.
Let's do it. Let's check it out and review it. I mean, it looks fun, and it looks like a cross between The Pit and Grey's Anatomy, basically.
It does. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like the first season of Grey's Anatomy meets The Pit.
Yeah, because The Pit doesn't really have that. Nobody's kissing on their first day of work or anything.
Not yet.
Oh yeah, it's only like the first 12 hours.
First day.
Yes,
Exactly.
I guess there's time. You're right.
There is time.
So that's all I got, Dr. Cohen.
Very, very cool, Lauren Taylor.
I hope you feel better.
Thank you. Me too. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on Gross Anatomy.